moment in this world, possesses all auspicious qualities, who is powerful, a knower of Vedic Dharma, filled with gratitude, a truthful person, and firm in his vows. So these are the questions asked by uh, Valmiki Muni. He's asking, Sampratam Loke, at the present moment, who is that person in this world who is Gunavan? Gunavan means one who possesses all auspicious qualities, right? And Kascha Viryavan, who is that person who is very powerful? Dharmagnaha, who is the person who is the true knower of Dharma? Kritagnaha, who is that person who is always grateful for the favors received by him? Who is Satyavakyaha, one who always speaks truthfully, and Dridhavrataha, one who is firm in his determination. So these are some of the qualities. Actually, uh, Narad Muni was asked by Valmiki Muni to describe about that personality who possesses 16 wonderful qualities. Some of these qualities we just now read in the second shloka. Let's continue the third shloka. चारित्रेण च को युक्तः सर्वभूतेषु को हितः विद्वान् कः कः समर्थश्च कश्चैकः प्रियदर्शनः. So he is continuing, Valmiki Muni is continuing. Who is that person who is presently living in this world who is charitrena cha ko yuktaha, who is well known for his satcharitra, who has the best character? Now, one important thing that is stressed in the Valmiki Ramayana, which is very all of us daily life, more stress is given on a person's character rather than a person's capabilities. In today's world, we see a lot of stress is given for a person's capabilities. Oh, how much capable he is, what are his strengths, that is given more importance in today's Kali Yuga. But the real standard of a person, human being, is his character. So, charitrena cha ko yuktaha, who is that person who has the noblest of all characters, right? And then, uh, sarva bhuteshu ko hitaha, who is that person who is always interested in the benefit, to do benefit to the whole world, right? Sarva bhuteshu ko hitaha. This is also another important quality of a human being. A human being should not simply be interested in one's own development. After acquiring wealth, after acquiring good character, after acquiring all good facilities, one should actually be interested in employing all his resources for the betterment of the world. Sarva bhuteshu hitaha. That is actually the standard of a good human being. So Valmiki Muni is asking, who is that person who has the good character and who is always interested in doing welfare for the whole world? Vidwan kahka samarthascha. Then who is that Vidwan who is truly learned? As we understand from the Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Swapake cha Shuni Chaiva Pandita Samadarshinaha. A real Pandita, a real learned person is he who sees everybody from a spiritual perspective. Right? Pandita Samadarshinaha. He treats everybody as a part and parcel of God. He does not discriminate based on bodily existence. He is called a real Vidwan, a really a learned person. And then Valmiki Muni is asking, Ka samarthascha, who is very, very capable, samartha, samarthyashali, who is the one who executes everything very nicely. Samarthya also means a person who takes up a particular task and ensures that he does not give up in between, even though he faces some setbacks. Such a person is called Daksha, or he is also called an expert, Samarthyashali. So Valmiki Muni is asking, who is that person who is having great capabilities? And then Kashchaika Priyadarshanaha. This is very interesting. Who is that person who is always exclusively pleasing to look at? Sometimes somebody may be very handsome, very beautiful to look at, but they may be beautiful to look at only when they have been when they have applied makeup, or only when they have done some editing of their video, or sometimes when people are angry, they are not beautiful to look at anymore. But here, Kashchaika Priyadarshanaha. Who is that person who is exclusively beautiful to look at in all circumstances? Whether he is angry, whether he is pleased, whether he is distressed, apparently, in any situation, if you look at him, he should appear very beautiful. Is there such a person? So, this is the question asked by Valmiki Muni. Then he continues to ask, verse 4. आत्मवान् को जितक्रोधो द्युतिमान् को न सूयकः कस्य बिभ्यति देवाश्च जातरोषस्य संयुगे. See, very interesting. The Adi Kavya, Valmiki Ramayana, is called the first epic in humanity. And the first epic in humanity is dedicated to describe, to glorify the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Real poetry is that which actually describes the beauty and qualities of the Supreme Lord. Not like today's poetry and today's cinema songs and movies that are made, which are simply glorifying the temporary nature of this material world. They are glorifying some partial so called good qualities of people in this world. But real glorification means glorifying the Supreme Lord. We are actually meant for hearing to the glories of the Supreme Lord. That is the perfection of our ears. So, Valmiki Ramayana teaches us that the primary subject to hear about, to glorify about, is Ramachandra, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we hear to such glorification, we become extremely pleased. Sometimes, when we hear the glorification of so called heroes of this material world, more than becoming pleased, we become agitated, we become disturbed by sinful tendencies. But when we hear to the true glorification of the Supreme Lord, we become extremely pleased. So, here, uh, Narad Muni is Valmiki Muni is continuing to ask his questions about the perfect personality. Atmavan ko jitakrodaha. Who is that person who is always self controlled? Who is Atmavan? This is a very beautiful phrase. Even Lord Krishna uses this word in the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. He says, Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Oh Arjuna, you should become self situated. This is called Atmavan. Do not care about your yoga kshema, that you leave it to me, Krishna says, but you become situated in the duties of the soul, which is to engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So here, Atmavan, who is that person who is always self situated, immaterial of the external circumstances, one who is always situated in the spiritual reality? He is called Atmavan. And then Jitakrodaha, who is that person who has actually gained control over his anger? Even though there is reason for being agitated, who is that person who can check his anger? This is another question, right? Asked by uh, Valmiki Muni. Dyutiman ko anasuyakaha. Dyutiman means one who is splendorous, one who is illuminated always, both internally and externally. He is Dyutiman. He is the one who spreads the illumination of his true glories. That is Dyutiman. Anasuyakaha, one who is free from envy, who does not envy others. And then Kasya Bibhyati Devascha Jataroshasya Samyoge. This is very interesting. Who is that person whom even the demigods and others fear when his anger is aroused on the battlefield? So even the Devatas are afraid of Lord Ramachandra's power on the battlefield, right? That we understand. That Ravana, who was feared even by the Devatas, was very easily killed by Lord Ramachandra on the battlefield. So, who is that person whom even Devatas are afraid of? That is the meaning of that question. And then Valmiki says, एतदिच्छाम्यहं श्रोतुं परं कौतूहलं हि मे महर्षे त्वं समर्थोऽसि ज्ञातुमेवं विधं नरः naram. He says, I am desirous of hearing about this, for I am greatly curious. O great sage, you are capable of knowing such a person. Please tell me about such a human being, Naram. Now, this is very interesting. First of all, Valmiki Muni is listing all the 16 qualities of an ideal human being that we just now read. And then he is asking, you are Narad Muni, you are always traveling about everywhere in this material world and in the spiritual world. And I'm sure you must have come across such an ideal person. And please describe about such a person to me. Param kautuhalam hi me. This phrase comes again and again in the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Whenever a person is asking question to a spiritual master, he says, I'm very interested to know. I'm very curious to know about this. So, the first qualification to understand spiritual knowledge, the first qualification to understand Lord Ramachandra is our inquisitiveness, right? We are always inquisitive about so many material subject matters, but we must be inquisitive about spiritual subject matter. So, athato Brahma Jignasa. We must have this Brahma Jignasa, the curiosity, the inquisitiveness to know about the Supreme Lord. That is the first primary qualification which makes us as a human being. Otherwise, we are just like animals, as it is described. Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha samanametat pashubhir naranam. Animals are also inquisitive, but their questions are restricted to these four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But human beings who have got developed consciousness can ask questions beyond these four subject matters. And Valmiki Muni is teaching us that we must be inquisitive about the Supreme Lord. We must be truth seekers in our life. And when you come across a self realized soul like Narad Muni, we should definitely not miss the opportunity to get the association of such a person. We must engage in Brahma Jignyasa. That is what Valmiki Muni is teaching in the very beginning of Ramayana. And we are also very fortunate that we have the opportunity to associate with Srila Prabhupada, who is Vishwaguru, who is actually the teacher of the whole world because he traveled all over the world to spread the sublime message of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada is available for all of us in the form of his books, in the form of his lectures and conversations. And every day we must spend time hearing to Srila Prabhupada. This is what Valmiki Muni is teaching us. Let's go next to the shloka number 6. श्रुत्वा चैतत्रिलोकज्ञो वाल्मीकिर्नारदो वचः श्रूयतामिति चामन्त्र्य प्रहृष्टो वाक्यमब्रवीत्. Narad Muni, the knower of the three worlds, having heard and understood these words of Valmiki, was delighted. Inviting his attention by saying, listen, he spoke the following words. So Narad Muni was extremely happy because pure devotees are always happy whenever there is an opportunity to glorify the Lord. And the questions asked by Valmiki actually indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ramachandra. And therefore, Narad Muni, who is here described as Trilokagnaha, he is the knower of the three worlds because he travels everywhere freely. So he was extremely delighted. He was very happy to hear such questions asked by Valmiki Muni. And then he said, surely I will answer your question, O sage Valmiki. Please listen to me now. Text 7. बहवो दुर्लभाश्चैव ये त्वया कीर्तिता गुणाः मुने वक्ष्याम्यहं बुद्ध्वा तैर्युक्तः श्रूयतां नरः. So Narad Muni said, O sage Valmiki, O sage, having understood the several qualities described by you and other qualities that are certainly impossible to be attained, I shall describe a person endowed with them. Please listen. So the word Durlabha is very important in the shloka. Interesting word. So Narad Muni is saying, yes, you have asked me, you have listed some 16 qualities, and you have asked me, who is that person who possesses these qualities in total? And actually, these qualities are Durlabha. They are very rare to be found in a human being. But still, I shall tell you that there is one person presently on this material world. He is performing his activities, and about him I'm going to tell you. And he is endowed with all these qualities that you just now listed, O great sage. And who is that person? So that is described in the next shloka, shloka number 8. इक्ष्वाकुवंश प्रभवो रामनामजनैः श्रुतः नियतात्मा महावीर्यो द्युतिमान् धृतिमान् वशी. Yes, there is a personality, and he is born in Ikshvaku Vamsha, hmm, born in the dynasty of Maharaj Ikshvaku, known to the people by the name Rama. He is called as Rama. He is Ikshvaku Vamsha Prabhavaha. Prabhavaha means he has appeared in that Vamsha, in the dynasty of Ikshvaku. He is untransformed. That means he is fixed up in his character, and he is of great strength. He is splendorous, Dyutiman, blissful, and the controller of all. So, this is how Narad Muni begins the description of Lord Ramachandra. We must remember this is just the synopsis of the entire Ramayana that Narad Muni is going to speak to Maharshi Valmiki. And later on, Valmiki Rishi, by the blessings of Lord Brahma, he expands on these verses spoken by Narad Muni. So, here the interesting thing is Lord Ramachandra, he is introduced as personality who is born in the Vamsha dynasty of Ikshvaku. Now, about Ikshvaku, Lord Krishna also speaks in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where he describes the history of Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna says that I spoke this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita in the past, in the very beginning of the creation, to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan spoke to his son, and later on, this knowledge was spoken to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku was a great king coming in the Surya Vamsha. That means Bhagavad Gita was well known even during the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku, who was a forerunner in the in the dynasty of Lord Ramachandra. That means even before Ramachandra appeared on this material world to perform his leelas, Ikshvaku Maharaj was ruling this world according to the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is the Sanatana Satya, the eternal truth which was well known. And obviously, Lord Ramachandra also was trained in this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, he is the Supreme Lord himself. He does not need to be trained. But since act as he acts as a human being in order to set an example for all of us, so he also received these instructions of the Vedas from his spiritual master, Vasishta Muni, that we shall be seeing in the coming shlokas. So, text 9, let us go to the next shloka. बुद्धिमान् नीतिमान् वाग्मी श्रीमान् शत्रुविनिबर्हणः विपुलां सो महाबाहुः कम्बुग्रीवो महाहनुः. Some of the bodily features of Ramachandra are described here in this shloka by Narad Muni. How did Lord Ramachandra look like? Because one of the questions asked by Valmiki was Kaschaika Priyadarshanaha, who is extremely pleasing to look at. His darshana should be like a netrotsava, as Bhagavatam describes. It is a festival, it is a treat for the eyes. That means even physically, to see The Lord is so pleasing. He's so beautiful. Sarva Saundarya Sangraham, Bhagavatam says. Lord Krishna's beauty, his transcendental body, is the sum total of all beauties that exist both in the material and the spiritual worlds. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. His beauty is so great that even crores and crores of Kamadeva's beauty is nothing compared to the transcendental beauty of the Supreme Lord. So, describing the bodily features of Lord Ramachandra, uh, Narad Muni is saying that how he is so pleasing to look at. Right? We should not think that the Lord possesses a material body like us. The Lord's body is always transcendental. Even though he appears in a physical form in this material world, he appears in his original form. Like as Krishna says in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. He appears in his original transcendental form in this material world. So when we hear such bodily description of the Supreme Lord, we should not make the mistake of thinking that, oh, these are all material. No, nothing about the Lord is material. Everything is spiritual. So here it is said, Buddhiman, the Lord is omniscient. He knows everything. He is the source of everybody's buddhi, intelligence. And Nitiman, his dealings are always in strictly in line with the teachings of the Vedas. The Lord does not do anything which is against the niti, the moral values established by the Vedic principles. And then he is Vagmi, means he is an expert in Vedic knowledge and he propagates the Vedic knowledge. He himself instructs Vedic knowledge. He is an expert speaker. That is the meaning of the word Vagmi. Shriman. Shriman means he is very beautiful to look at, right? And he is endowed with all kinds of opulences. He is Shriman. Shatru Nibarhanaha. Shatru Nibarhanaha. He is an expert in defeating the enemies. He is expert. He destroys the enemies. He also destroys the mission of the enemies. This is his quality. We see that throughout the Ramayana that is described. The first demoness killed by Lord Rama was Tataka, and then Subahu, and later on Maricha, and many other demons, demoniac associates of Ravana, and finally Ravana himself was destroyed by Lord Ramachandra. Therefore, he is an expert in destroying the enemies. Therefore, he is called Shatru Nibarhanaha. Then the bodily features of Rama are described here in the second part of the shloka. Vipulamsaha. Vipulamsaha means his shoulders are elevated. He has elevated shoulders. And then he is Vipulamsaha Mahabahuhu. Mahabahu means his arms are very strong, very powerful. Mahabahuhu. And then Kambugriva. His neck is like a conch shell. Kambugriva. Very beautiful to look at. His neck is very beautiful to look at. And then Maha Hanuhu. His jaws are large. Hanu means jaws. In fact, Hanuman means one who has big jaws, Hanuman, right? So he is also, Lord Ramachandra here is he's described as Maha Hanuhu. His jaws are large, right? That means he is very extremely pleasing to look at. His body is very beautiful. And then some more descriptions of the transcendental body of Lord Ramachandra follows here in the 10th shloka. Mahorasko Maheshwaso Guda Jatrur Arindamaha Ajanubahu Sushiraha Sulalata Suvikramaha. So these are some of the qualities of the body of Lord Ramachandra. He has a broad chest. Mahoraskaha. Uraskaha means the chest, the body part between the two shoulders, that is called Uraskaha, where Uruhu, heart, is situated. Therefore, it is called Uraskaha. So he has a broad chest that is symbolic of a very powerful person, Mahoraskaha. And then he is Maheshwasaha. Ishwasaha means one who is expert uh, uh, in archery. Ishuhu means uh, arrows. Maheshwasaha means one who is a great archer, one who is expert in uh, wielding his weapon called as Kodanda. Lord Ramachandra's bow is called Kodanda. Therefore, he is called Kodandapani. So he is Maheshwasaha. He is expert uh, wielder of the archery science, military science. And then he is Guda Jatruhu. Guda Jatruhu means his collarbone is invisible. His collarbone is invisible. That means he is well built. And then he is victorious over his enemies. Arindamaha. Ari means enemies. Damaha means one who can control, one who can gain victory over. So Lord Ramachandra is called Arindama. That means he is victorious over his enemies. He is expert in conquering his enemies. In the previous shloka, Shatru Nibarhanaha was also used, which also means the same, who is expert in conquering the enemies. So, if we take shelter of Lord Ramachandra's lotus feet, by his grace, we can also conquer our enemies. Who are our enemies? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are called the Arishadvarga, the six enemies of the soul. And human beings must actually conquer over these six internal enemies. And when one takes shelter of Lord Ramachandra, who is himself Arindama, who is expert in conquering the enemies, by his blessings, we shall also be able to conquer the internal enemies. And it is described Hanumanji conquered all his enemies simply by chanting the holy names of Rama. Simply by chanting the holy name of Rama, Hanumanji conquered both his internal and external enemies. That is the power of Lord Ramachandra and his holy name. And then another interesting feature of Lord Ramachandra's transcendental body, he is Ajanu Bahuhu. Ajanu Bahu. Janu means knees. Bahu means arms. His arms prolong until his knees, reach out to his knees. In fact, Bhagavatam describes this is one of the qualities of a Mahapurusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whenever the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in this material world as Krishna, as Rama, or even as Mahavishnu, these particular bodily features are described. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nilambara Chakravarti, the grandfather of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during the time of performing the Jata Karma and Nama Karma samskaras of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he studied these bodily features of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One of those is Ajanubahu. His arms extend up to his knees. Therefore, he said he is a Mahapurusha. He is the supreme personality of Godhead who has the features, bodily features of a Mahapurusha. So here we see that Ajanubahu Sushiraha means he has a beautiful head, forehead. Sushiraha means forehead is very beautiful to look at. And then Sulalataha. Sulalataha actually means he's having a very beautiful forehead. And then Suvikramaha, his gait is beautiful. That means the way he actually walks, his body language is very beautiful to look at. Suvikramaha. So these are some of the bodily features of Lord Ramachandra. So let us go forward and see some more interesting qualities described by Narad Muni. Shloka number 11, Narad Muni says, Sama Samaha Samavibhaktangaha Snigdavarna Pratapavan Tina Vaksha Vishalaksho Lakshmivan Shubha Lakshanaha. Some more features of Lord Ramachandra are described here. Sama Samaha Samavibhakta Angaha. He is neither too tall nor too short. That means his bodily features are all very well proportioned. And the parts of his body, such as his hands and feet, are equally sized. That means there is no defect in the bodily features of Lord Ramachandra. It is perfect to look at, very beautiful. His complexion is moist. He is splendorous. His complexion is moist, means his body is always shining, right? He's shining, splendorous. And then his chest is fleshy, that means he is well built. His eyes are broad. Vishalakshaha. This is very interesting. We see always the deities of the Lord, especially in our temple when we see the deities of Radha, Krishna, Chandra, and all the deities. One important feature is Vishalaksha. The eyes of the Lord are very broad and they are always often compared to lotus petals. Ambuja Nayana, the Lord is called as Ambuja Nayana. That means his eyes are as broad as the petals of a lotus flower. And these eyes of the Lord are very broad because they're always ready to cast their merciful glance upon the devotees. Therefore, Vishalakshaha, he has a pair of broad eyes. And then Lakshmivan Shubhalakshanaha. He possesses all auspicious characteristics, Shubhalakshanaha, and he is Lakshmivan. He is endowed with all kinds of opulences. That is the meaning. Text 12. Dharmagnya satya sandhascha prajanam chahite rataha yashasvi jnana sampannaha शुचिर वश्य समाधिमान प्रजापति समश्रीमान धातु रिपु निषूदनः. So some more qualities of Lord Rama. Actually, we should meditate on the qualities of Lord Rama. The perfection of our mind can be achieved when we can fix our mind on the transcendental qualities of Lord Ramachandra. That is why Valmiki Muni describes Lord Ramachandra's qualities in great detail. Right? So here we see the Dharmagnaha, the one who is aware of what is Dharma. He knows what are his duties in every situation. That is the meaning of Dharmagnaha. And then he is Satya Sandascha. He is truthful to his promise. Whenever he gives a promise, he makes a vow, he makes sure that he keeps up his word of honor. Just like for the sake of keeping up the word of honor of his father Dashrath Maharaj, Lord Ramachandra happily went to the forest for 14 years. So that is the meaning of Satya Sandaha. And then Prajanam cha hite rataha. He is always absorbed in benefiting all the living entities. Now, Praja does not mean only the citizens, human beings. Srila Prabhupada explains this in the Bhagavatam. Praja means anybody who is born in the kingdom. Anybody who is born in the kingdom of a particular king, they are called human beings. All kinds of species. And the whole world was ruled by Ramachandra. Therefore, all the living entities in this material world, in this earthly planet, they are called Prajanam for Ramachandra. And Lord Ramachandra is always absorbed in Hite Rataha. He's always absorbed in thinking about, he's engaged in activities for the welfare of all the living entities. And then he is Yashasvi. Yashasvi means he is successful in his attempts and he is also very famous. Yashaha means one of the six opulences. He is famous everywhere. Not only on this earthly planet, in all the 14 planetary systems, Ramachandra's glories were sung and they are constantly being described and celebrated. Therefore, he is Yashasvi, he is famous, and he is Jnana Sampannaha. He is endowed with all knowledge. He is the source of all knowledge. Therefore, definitely, how can there be any ignorance in Lord Ramachandra? Therefore, he is Jnana Sampannaha. He is Shuchihi. He is always pure and he is always straightforward in his dealings. One thing actually comes up in Ramachandra's pastimes in Ramayana again and again. Ramachandra, there is no second thought, second word, there is no second arrow, there is no second woman in the life of Ramachandra. That means he says once, when he gives his words, promises once, you can be rest assured that it will be done. And then his one arrow is sufficient. He need not use the second arrow to destroy the same enemy. And then he also followed the vow of Ekapatni Vrataha. He accepted only Mother Sita as his consort, as his wife. So this is called Shuchihi. His dealings were always pure, straightforward. And then Vashyaha. Vashyaha means he's dependent on his surrendered devotees. This is another interesting quality. Even though he is the supreme personality of Godhead, he is dependent on his confidential servants like Hanuman and other Vanaras who always assisted him in his pastimes. So, this is his causeless mercy. He gives a seva opportunity to everybody. In fact, when the Setu, Rama Setu was being constructed, the the great Vanaras with so much power, like Hanuman and others, they were bringing big tree trunks, big boulders to construct the Rama Setu. But there were also squirrels who were actually carrying small pieces of uh, st- stones and some sand, and they would come and shake off their body and deposit those sand particles to construct the bridge for Rama. And Ramachandra was extremely pleased even with this kind of seva, a small insignificant seva done by the squirrel, right? So that's why it is said even squirrel service was accepted by Rama. That means any service that is done with a loving attitude, with the attitude of service to the Lord accepts. And when the Lord accepts our seva, then our life is successful. Therefore, he is called Vashyaha. He is controlled by his devotees' love. He is dependent on his devotees. Samadhiman. Samadhiman means he, Vashyaha Samadhiman, that is one, the one who is always absorbed in the service of the Lord. Upon such devotees, Lord Ramachandra is always dependent. And then Prajapati Samaha, he is just like the Prajapati. He is, he is equal to the Prajapati in the matter of protecting the universe. Right? He is Prajapati Samaha, and he is inseparable from Shriman. He is always accompanied by the goddess of fortune, Mother Sita. Apparently, you may say, we are saying he is inseparable from Mother Sita, but Ravana took off Sita, kidnapped Sita to Lanka. Then Ramachandra displayed he was actually lamenting, searching for Mother Sita in the forest. So, why are you saying that he is Shriman, he is never separated from Mother Sita? Actually, it is explained, Srila Prabhupada explains that whom Ravana kidnapped was actually Maya Sita, was not the real Sita. A demoniac person like Ravana can never get hold of Mother Sita, the goddess of fortune. So Ravana was an illusion that he got Sita, but actually he carried Chaya Sita or Maya Sita, illusory form of Sita, to Lanka, which actually became a reason, a cause for destruction of the entire dynasty of Ravana, isn't it? So therefore, Lord Ramachandra is Shriman. He's always accompanied by the goddess of fortune. And he is Ripu Nishudanaha. Again, this comes. He destroys the Ripu, the enemies. He's expert in destroying the enemies. Text 13. Rakshita jiva lokasya dharmasya parirakshita. Rakshita swasya dharmasya swajanasya cha rakshita. Now, this very beautiful verse, it is very beautiful to hear also. Uh, this verse talks about the protective nature of the Lord. The Lord is the protector of the living creatures. He is the complete protector of the Vedic Dharma. He is the protector of his own duty, and he is the protector of his devotees also. So the Lord protects four entities. Who are the four entities protected by Lord Rama? He is Rakshita Jiva Lokasya. He is a protector of all the living entities in this material world. Secondly, he is the protector of Dharma. Dharmasya Parirakshita. Very nicely, he protects Dharma, dharmic principles. Dharma Samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. The Lord appears in this material world to establish real Dharma, to protect the Dharma. And then Rakshita Swasya Dharmasya. Not only he protects the Dharma of this material world, he also protects his own duties. He is always true to his duties. He never escapes from his duties. He protects his own duties. And then Swajanasya Charakshita. one who considers the Lord to be his master, one who surrenders completely to the Lord. Unto such people, the Lord awards complete abhayam, complete protection, fearlessness. That we see in the episode of Vibhishana coming and surrendering to Lord Ramachandra. In the Yuddha Kanda, we see that even though Vibhishana is coming from the enemy camp, from Ravana, he was the brother of Ravana, but when he seek the shelter of Lord Rama gave him protection. He gave him shelter. That is the meaning. Swajanasya cha rakshita. Text 14. Veda Vedanga Tattvajno Dhanurvede cha Nishtitaha Sarvashastrartha Tattvajna Smritiman Pratibhanavan. Veda Vedanga Tattvajnaha. Lord Ramachandra is the knower of the Tattva, the principles, the philosophy described in the Vedas and the Vedangas. That means he is complete knower of the truth. This is told by Krishna also in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Vedavit. Lord Krishna is Vedavit. That means he is the knower of all the Vedas because he is the source of all the Vedas. The Vedic scriptures describe that all the Vedas are nothing but the breath of Lord Narayana. The Vedas are coming from the breathing of Narayana. Therefore, he is definitely the knower of all the Vedas. And then Dhanurvede cha Nishtitaha. He is also expert in Dhanurveda, in the military science, which is also one of the branches of Vedic knowledge. And then Sarva Shastrartha Tattvajnaha. He is not only knower of the Vedas, but Sarva Shastra. He is the knower of all kinds of scriptures which are prevalent in the human society and in the demigod society. And not only he is aware of all the Shastras, he is also able to explain the meaning of all the Shastras. Shastra Artha and Tattva. He is knower, Jnaha. And then he is Smritiman Pratibhanavan. He has an unfailing memory. Smritiman. So this is also about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he is called Shrutidhara. That means once he hears from the spiritual master, once he hears one time, throughout his life he never forgets. This is a quality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is quality of Ramachandra. It is also the quality of Lord Krishna. We see this in the Bhagavatam 10th canto when Krishna and Balaram they were instructed by Sandipani Muni in 64 days and 64 nights. They mastered the 64 transcendental subject matters, 64 arts they were able to master within 64 days. That means in the morning, Sandipani Muni would instruct the two brothers, and by night, the two brothers would have mastered that art, that science. So this is called Smritiman. He has perfect memory, unfailing memory. And then Pratibhanavan. He is very talented. He has he is brilliant in whatever he does. He is Pratibhavan. He is brilliant. These are some more qualities of Ramachandra. Text 15. I may extend till 9:15, so I request you to please stay on because the goal is to complete 20 shlokas every day so that we complete the entire first chapter of the Balakanda before Rama Navami. So now we have finished 14 shlokas. So the 15th shloka onwards we are going to discuss now. Shloka number 15. Sarvaloka priya sadhur adinatma vichakshanaha sarvada bhigata sadbihi samudra iva sindhubihi. Sarvaloka priyaha. See, there may be people who have good capabilities. They may be dear to some part of the society, and other part of the society may dislike them for whatever reasons. We see that today also. Some people they have fans at the same time they have haters also, isn't it? But Lord Ramachandra was Sarvaloka Priyaha. Everybody was dear to him, and everybody considered him to be his dear master. He's dear to everybody. Therefore, he's called Sarvaloka Priyaha. Sadhur Adinatma Vichakshanaha. So he can be approached by the sadhus. That means sadhu, why he was, that means there are some people, who live in the king, in the palace, they are not approachable by common people. They are not approachable by saintly people. Prabhupada gives example. There are very rich people living in big bungalows, and whenever devotees try to visit their houses, they're always encountered by their dogs. You know, there are many such examples where devotees try to go to these people's houses to preach to them or to do book distribution, and many such cases are there where dogs start barking, and the owner of the house never comes back, comes to receive such saintly people or devotees. But Ramachandra was not like that. Even though he was in the palace of Ayodhya, he was easily approachable by the sadhus, sadhuradinatma, and he was vichakshanaha. He could speak on varieties of subject matters. Right? It's not that because he's a king, he's only knowing about warfare, about military science. No, he could speak about all kinds of philosophies that we see in the Aranya Kanda also. Between Mm, when Ramachandra went to the forest with Lakshmana and Mother Sita, there are many episodes where there were philosophical discussions between Ramachandra and Mother Sita. Mother Sita also would quote from scriptures, and Ramachandra would quote from scriptures, and they used to have philosophical discussions. So, Vichakshanaha, he was able to speak on varieties of subject matters. And then, Sarvadabhigataha Sadbihi, Sarvada Abhigataha. He was easily approached by everybody at all times. There was no some Z plus security always guarding him, alienating him from the common people. It was not like that. At all times, anybody could approach him fearlessly to seek his shelter. And then Samudra Iva Sindhubihi. Uh, just like Samudra, ocean is very vast, but anybody can approach the ocean to take a bath, isn't it? There are no boundaries for the ocean. In the same way, Lord Ramachandra was always approved, was approached by saintly persons. So here it is said, Samudra iva Sindhubihi. Sindhubihi refers to rivers. Rivers have access to the Samudra always. A river empties itself into the ocean. That means it can join the ocean anytime, easily approach the ocean. In the same way, the sadhus, especially the sadhus and common people, could always approach. Lord Ramachandra was easily accessible. Today, in the modern day management, we always hear this. A leader is one who is always easily accessible by the followers. It's not that the leader sits in an AC room and simply gives instructions to the followers, and he is not physically available to inspire them or to guide them. Then he's not a good leader. He may be a good manager, but he may not be a good leader. So manager only manages, whereas leader inspires by his physical presence. So Ramachandra was easily accessible. He was always present amidst the citizens to inspire them. So that is the meaning. Text 16. Arya sarva samaschaiva sadaika priyadarshanaha sacha sarva gunopetaha kausalyananda vardhanaha. Aryaha. So Aryaha, he is meant to be approached by all. Arya also means one who is highly civilized, who knows the progressive values of human society. He conducts himself according to the values of the Sanatana Dharma. He is called Aryaha. Here, Arya also means he was easy to be approached by everybody. Sarva Samaha Chaiva. This is very interesting. He was equal to all. He was not partial. When it came to executing dharma, and because of which many times Rama had to take strong, strict decisions, he did not hesitate to take strict decisions against his own family members. So that is one of the important qualities of a leader. It's not that a leader applies law only to the common man, but he and his family members are always uh, they always escape the laws of the land. Then that is not samatvam, right? Then that's partiality. A partial leader is never liked by the common people, isn't it? But Lord Ramachandra was sarva samaha. He was equal to everybody because he is the supreme Lord. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Samoham sarva bhuteshu I am equal to everybody. Then somebody may say, if Krishna is equal to everybody, then why is the Lord allowing somebody to suffer in this world? Why is somebody enjoying in this world? Now, that is because of their own karma. Just like the judge in the court is applying the same constitutional law to everybody, and to somebody he rewards compensation, to somebody else he awards imprisonment. It's not that judge is partial. Judge is merely seeing the activities done by different people through the eyes of the law. Therefore, the judge is equal. He's not playing favorites. So that is what meaning of this. So Lord Ramachandra was Sarva Samaha, Sadaika Priyadarshinaha. He was always and exclusively pleasing to behold. So this was the question asked by Narad Muni also, and we are sorry, Valmiki also. And Narad Muni is saying, Lord Ramachandra was always pleasing to look at. There is one episode where, before building the bridge across the ocean, Ramachandra comes to the seashore and he sits in for 3 days in meditation. He wants to uh, somehow convince the Samudra Devata to give way so that he and his entire army can go to Lanka, crossing the ocean. So first he does not simply show his anger first only, but he simply sits down in meditation. He does tapasya. So at that time also he was very pleasing to look at, very peaceful. He was peaceful and he was simply sitting in tapasya. But after 3 days and 3 nights, when there was no response from the Samudra Devata, Ramachandra becomes very angry and he says, Lakshmana, get my bow and arrow. I shall teach a good lesson to this Samudra. What does he think about himself? So that time he becomes very angry, and it is described even when he was angry, and because of his angry glance, the ocean water started boiling, and all the living creatures within the ocean started feeling the heat. But even in his extreme anger, Lord Ramachandra was Priyadarshanaha. He was extremely beautiful to look at. That means whether Ramachandra was pleased or whether he was angry, in all situations he was very pleasing to look at. Priyadarshanaha. Sacha sarva gunopetaha. He was endowed with all auspicious qualities, and because of this, he was Kausalya Anandavardhanaha. He increased the delight, the happiness of Mother Kausalya. You know, Kausalya Supraja Rama Sandhya Purva Pravartate. Purva Sandhya Pravartate. We chant in the Venkateshwara Suprabhata, right? That first shloka. That is actually from the Valmiki Ramayana. That was spoken by um, Vishwamitra Rishi to wake up Ramachandra in the morning when they were in the forest. So Kausalya Supraja Rama, O Rama, you are the you are a good son of your mother Kausalya. Mother Kausalya has trained you in very nicely in behavior and other etiquettes. Therefore, you are Supraja. You are a very good son of your mother Kausalya. So here also it is said Kausalya Anandavardhanaha. So by seeing the wonderful qualities and activities of Ramachandra, Mother Kausalya was extremely happy. Kausalya Anandavardhanaha. Text 17. Samudra iva gambhirye dhairyena himavaniva Vishnuna sadrusho virye somavat priyadarshanaha. Very beautiful verse. Valmiki Rishi uses four, actually, Narad Muni is describing this. Narad Muni is using four wonderful analogies to describe, comparisons to describe the qualities of Ramachandra. Samudra iva gambhirye. In gravity, right? He was like Samudra. He was like ocean, right? Even though ocean is very huge water body, but it is always calm, peaceful, right? It is deep, peaceful, right? So, in terms of Gambhirya, in terms of gravity, Lord Ramachandra was like Samudra, like ocean. And then, Dhairyena Himavan Iva. In terms of Dhairya, means tolerance, he was like the great Himalayas, right? He was the great Himalayas, which always tolerates heavy winds blowing across it, stands stands firm. So in terms of firmness, he was like Himavan, Himalayan mountains. Vishnuna Sadrusho Virye. In terms of power, capabilities, he was Vishnu himself. He was Lord Narayana himself in terms of prowess. And then Somavat Priyadarshana, Somavat, like the moon, he was extremely pleasing to behold. When you see the moon, especially the full moon, you feel very, it is very pleasing, right? You feel very happy. So Lord Ramachandra's beauty is compared to the moon. He was extremely pleased to look at, like the full moon. Text 18. कालाग्निसदृशक्रोधे क्षमया पृथिवी समः धनदेन समस्त्यागे satye dharma iva paraha. Some more comparisons are made here. In terms of Krodha, when he becomes angry, he was like Kala Agni Sadrushaha. He was like the uh, Kala Agni, the fire of time, which does not spare anybody, right? Also called as underwater volcano. You know, sometimes there is volcano coming under the water in the oceans that causes tsunami and other things. So he is Kalagni Sadrusha Krodhe. In terms of anger, he is like the fire, the volcano, right? And then he is Kshamaya Prithvi Samaha. But in terms of forgiveness, he is just like Mother Earth. See, on Mother Earth is so much tolerating us. We spread so much dirt and contamination. We pollute the Mother Earth, but still Mother Earth is forgiving us. Of course, we always see nowadays in Kali Yuga, even Mother Earth seems to be very unhappy by the kind of mass contamination, pollution, and industrialization that we are doing. Therefore, we are always seeing more of natural calamities. But Mother Earth in general is very tolerant, very forgiving. So Ramachandra is like Prithvi, like Mother Earth when it comes to the quality of forgiveness, right? So we see this um, one episode where Jayanta, the son of Indra, comes in the form of a crow and he pesters and creates uh, bruises on the body of Mother Sita. And when Ramachandra gets to know, actually, Ramachandra would be lying down on the lap of Mother Sita. At that time, this Jayanta comes in the form of a crow, Kakasura. And he comes, and when Ramachandra gets to know that Mother Sita was troubled like this, immediately Ramachandra takes one grass, a dry grass there, and he invokes the Brahmastra within that grass, and he attacks this to kill this crow. And immediately the crow realizes that I was meddling with an extraordinary person, and Jayanta comes in his original form and begs forgiveness. He becomes repentful for his heinous act, and immediately Lord Ramachandra's anger subsides, and he forgives this Jayanta. So from this we understand when it comes to anger, he is like Kalagni, he is like a volcano. But when it comes to forgiveness, he is like the Mother Earth. Dhanadena samastyage. When it comes to tyaga, sacrifice, he is like Kubera. Dhanadena means the Kubera, the treasurer of the Devatas. He is very charitable. He gives, tyaga means here charity. So in charity, he is like Kubera himself. When somebody asks him, Lord Ramachandra does not hesitate to give whatever the seeker is asking. Right? That's why it is said, Dataram Sarva Sampadam in the prayer to Lord Ramachandra, which we chanted in the beginning of this session. Dataram Sarva Sampadam. Lord Ramachandra can give all kinds of prosperity to his devotees. And Satya Dharma Iva Paraha. In terms of truthfulness, he is Dharma himself. He is Dharma personified. In fact, we will see this later on. Maricha himself glorifies Lord Ramachandra. Maricha, being a demon, he is glorifying Lord Ramachandra, saying that Rama is Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha. Rama is Dharma personified. What is Dharma? If you want to know, you just have to look at Ramachandra. You will understand through his activities what is Dharma. These are the words spoken by Maricha to Ravana. Huh? And he said Maricha was trying to dissuade Ravana from his heinous plan of kidnapping Mother Sita. So Maricha had reformed himself uh, because of the when he witnessed personally, first hand, he witnessed the mighty power of Rama. When Rama was protecting the yajna of Vishwamitra, Maricha had actually tasted the arrows of Rama. He had learned his lessons. He had reformed himself. Therefore, he was telling Ravana, Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha. You know who is Rama? Rama is Dharma himself. Don't meddle with him. These kind of moral instructions Maricha was giving to Ravana, but Ravana, being implicated with lust and pride and greed, he did not pay attention to Maricha's good advice. And then we know what happened later. So here it is said, Satyena Dharma Ivaha. So Ramachandra, in terms of truthfulness, he was Dharma himself. He was Dharma personified. Text 19 and 20, the last two shlokas for today. Tamevam guna sampannam ramam satyparakramam jyeshtam shreshta gunair priyam dasharatha sutam. So Ramachandra, in this way, he is actually endowed with all good qualities. Guna sampannam, Narad Muni is saying, and he is satyaparakramam. That means his powers are unfailing. He is satyaparakramam. This phrase comes again and again in Valmiki Ramayana. Ramam satyaparakramam means his prowess, his power is unfailing. Right? There is a meaning. And then it is said, Jeshtam Shrestha Gunair Yuktaha. Jeshtam means great. Jeshtam also means he is the eldest son of Dashratha, and he is not only elder by age, but he is also Shrestha Gunair Yuktam. He was also well endowed with all auspicious and wonderful good qualities. And therefore, Tam Priyam Dasharatha Sutam. Therefore, he was the darling of Dashrath Maharaj. He was the heart and soul of Dashrath Maharaj. So we get to know this when Vishwamitra Rishi comes asking Rama and Lakshmana. He asks for Rama especially to protect his yajna against the demons, Maricha and Subahu. When he comes to Dashrath Maharaj with this plea, Dashrath Maharaj says, my dear Vishwamitra Rishi, I am ready to give my life to you, but please spare my son Rama. He is my life and soul. I can lay down my body, I can lay down my life if you want, but I cannot separate even for a moment from my dear son Rama. So in this way, Rama was very dear to Dashrath Maharaj. Priyam Dasharatha Sutam. Then shloka number 20. Prakrutinam hitairyuktam prakriti priyakamyaya yauvarajyena samyuktam aichat prityamahi patihi. Now, Narad Muni is beginning the story of Ramayana. He says, in this way, Ramachandra was endowed with all good qualities. He was liked by all the citizens of Ayodhya. He was the heart and soul of Dashrath Maharaj. And on one day, when Dashrath Maharaj found that Ramachandra is now of appropriate age and he is endowed with all good qualities, so what did Dashratha do? It said here, out of love and with a desire to please his ministers, King Dasharatha desired to install that Rama, his dear and eldest son, who was endowed with these qualities, whose prowess was unfailing, who was endowed with excellent qualities for political administration, and who was engaged in benefiting his citizens. So Ramachandra had all these good qualities. Not only because he was the eldest son of King Dashratha, he had all these good qualities for benefiting his citizens. Therefore, Dashrath Maharaj desired that now let me retire. I am already 60,000 years old. I have ruled this kingdom for so long time. I have become old now. Now I should do something for the betterment of my next life. That means I must actually focus now on spiritual activities. And I see Ramachandra is the favorite of everybody in my kingdom. Therefore, now I desire that Ramachandra should be enthroned as the Yuvaraja, as the crown prince of my kingdom. In this way, Dashrath Maharaj decides. Of course, he simply does not impose his decision on the people. He actually conducts a Rajya Sabha where all the ministers and his subordinate kings are summoned, and Ramachandra, Dashrath Maharaj asks the opinion about Ramachandra to all those people, and all the people unanimously agree to the point that yes, your son is capable. He has these qualities, so many qualities they list out. Apart from what Dashrath Maharaj has listed out, all those people, ministers and other subordinate kings, they all list out and they agree. And then not only that, Dashrath Maharaj sends spies all over his kingdom to find out public opinion, whether they like Rama as their king or not. And then he gathers information through those spies. And finally, he decides that let me coronate my son Dasharatha. So, these were the first 20 shlokas that we discussed in the first chapter of the Balakanda of Valmiki Ramayana. What happened afterwards? In the words of Narad Muni, we will understand that in tomorrow's session. Thank you very much for joining. Shri Shri Sita Ramachandra Bhagwan ki jai. Shri Valmiki Ramayana Adikavya ki jai. Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare
Krishna
Rama.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It was very nice.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hello, Teja.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you.